I didn't see it.
I now call this meeting in Davenport Community School District Board of Directors to order. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just for everyone to note, we are going to be removing item 10.03 off of the agenda tonight. Late Friday night, January 7th, Iowa OSHA issued a statement stating that it would not adopt or enforce the federal OSHA ETS. The Iowa Division of Labor, who is tasked with enforcing of the OSHA ETS, clearly stated that it will not be implementing or enforcing the federal ETS. The ramifications of Iowa's decision and the potential effects on the state plan status are not yet known. It is possible that the federal OSHA could still step in and enforce the ETS in Iowa if it is upheld by a Supreme Court or take other revocation action regarding Iowa's state OSHA plan. However, Iowa OSHA will not be taking any action against employers who choose not to implement the federal ETS at this time. All right, Director Beck, would you please read the board priorities?
Yeah, you bet.
Gladly. The Davenport School Board establishes the following priorities to ensure the academic success of all students. Provide leadership and direction to improve the overall learning environment in our classrooms, schools, and district, including the health, safety, security, and happiness of students and staff. Direct and support actions, programs, and activities which reduce the impacts of poverty on our students, their families, and our community.
Thank you. Director Hayes, will you please read the mission and vision statements?
Yes, I'll be happy to. The mission statement is to enhance each student's abilities by providing a quality education enriched by our diverse community. And the vision statement is to education that challenges conventional thinking, prepares all students to comply in a global society, and inspire our students, parents, staff, and community to answer the question, what if?
Thank you, Director Hayes. Tonight we have a presentation, the North High School Cheer Pearl Harbor Parade. I will turn it over to the superintendent.
Thank you, President Goza. Dr. Barney is going to make the introductions of our team. We've had a group of students do something pretty extraordinary, and I think you're going to find it pretty awesome to hear about. So, Dr. Barney, thank you for making the initial introduction.
Have the ladies come on up. So they can just be right up here and you guys will get the microphone. So Brittany and Jasmine are our two coaches. And Jasmine got the opportunity to travel with the girls to Hawaii, but they went and participated in the parade. So we're glad to have them today. So I'm going to turn it over to them to introduce the girls and talk about the trip and their experiences.
Hi guys, how are we doing? So thank you for having us. We appreciate the time that you're taking for us today. These are our All-American girls. We have Jamira Reeves, Taylor Westerfield, Raven Butler, Emily Garcia, Lauren Durst, Gia Foster, Abby Johnson, Kayla Stuckel, Torrance Hicks, Tezzy McGinnis, and Kenna Bump is. Almost got it. So what we did was we have our summer camp where we have people come in. They're called UCA. It's the Universal Cheerleaders Association. And we pay them to come and work for us, teach us different things, and build our program. And so these girls all tried out. Our entire team tried out. We had what's called a home camp. And out of our entire squad of 33, all of these girls were picked, which is a wonderful amount of cheerleaders that were picked. That's most in our history. There are a few of them that are wearing a little bit different today. The girls that are actually in a uniform today, they were able to actually fly to Hawaii and participate in the parade. There are a few that decided not to go this year, but that's okay. There's always next year, hopefully bigger and better numbers too, right? So the girls that are all here, they all did fundraising. We did car washes, candy bar sales, popcorn sales, kids clinics. We cleaned tables at Pizza Ranch, and a lot of them did some private fundraising for themselves as well. So they did a great job. They raised 95% of it for their parents and families, so they were able to take this awesome trip. There were a total of over 800 cheerleaders from across the country that were able to go to this performance. And it's super awesome to know that we have 11 of them that had the opportunity to go. So we are extremely, extremely proud of them. Unfortunately, I was not able to go this year, but that's okay. Like they say, there's always next year. Jasmine was able to go, so I'm going to kind of pass the mic over to her a little bit and let her give a little bit of information about all the fun that they had while they were there.
Hey guys, I'm Jasmine Butler. I'm the assistant cheerleading coach, and like Brittany said, I was able to travel to Hawaii with these wonderful girls. It was a great experience for all of us, great team bonding for everyone. But there was also an educational part that we were able to receive. We were able to go to the Battleship Missouri Memorial, where these girls were able to see how those soldiers lived, letters that they wrote to their families, you know, their cafeteria, entertainment that they had. So that was something that they truly will be able to say that they were able to go and visit and see that. We also had a luau that was planned for us. Unfortunately, due to the weather, we had to stay in our hotels, but we made it fun. We do have some pictures of the girls that was down there. I don't know if someone can click those for us, please. So those are the girls on. Those are the girls actually on their performance day at the parade. But where was that? But this is just to show, you know, how the weather. Unfortunately, the weather wasn't as permitted, not what we hoped it would be to be in Hawaii. But we made the best of it. So the girls, it was raining. You guys can see the rain in the photo, but. We made our own luau, and they ended up jumping in a pool. So just fond memories that they can take with them for a lifetime. And it was truly a great moment for each and every one of us. Do any of you ladies want to say anything about your guys' experience in Hawaii?
Don't be shy, you're cheerleaders.
No? Oh, Taylor.
My favorite experience was all of us. We were taking pictures that one night, and we all decided to jump in the pool. And I think that was probably one of the best team bondings. I wish our whole team was there, but we had a really fun experience, and I think something that can happen again next year.
I know we were all excited to go to Hawaii because it's like Hawaii, but there was educational purposes that I think we all enjoyed. We were able to visit the USS Arizona, and I thought that was a really cool experience.
Anyone else? Okay.
I liked how in the parade we were with all these girls that we don't know, and we just got to know them a lot more when we were talking to them, and it was a great experience just like to get to know everybody around us.
Anyone else? Okay.
My favorite experience of it all was probably going to the ship and the boat, because my father was in the Navy, so just to see how him and my mother communicated and, you know, like just all of that. So I think that was the best part for me, was the ship, because it was something educational and I learned something out of it. So that was probably my favorite part.
So we really appreciate you guys having the time for us today. These girls work extremely hard. All of our girls do, from our entire program, junior varsity, varsity competition. We try to build the team a little bit more every year. So yes, we would love to take a picture. Thank you.
Stand right here with that. Did you guys get set up? Our school board members are gonna come around.
Michael Ross.
And Mr. Bonder right there is gonna get our picture. Coaches, get in here.
They're right here. You're a little short. I'm not. Wait.
All right. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that awesome presentation. We will now move on to student board reports. I'll turn it over to the superintendent.
Ms. Alexiejak, would you like to start us off today? Thank you.
I'm always first, but okay. So, there's something really cool going on at West that actually started in, I believe, 2019. So in 2020, Brady O'Neill and Mr. Smith went to Kenya for the water tower project. I didn't know if you guys knew about that or not, but basically, the engineering program has been working really hard to figure out water filtration for communities in Kenya. So that's happening again in July of this year, so July 2022. 4 kids, and then Mr. Smith and his and another adult are going back to Kenya again, and they're gonna build a tower that they're gonna build up their tower that they already engineered. That's that provides clean and filtered water for the communities there in Kenya that don't have access to that without them. That also goes along with our charity week that we're doing here in a couple months. So our charity week is going to be for them to raise money for the materials. And another thing that's kind of weird is that the shipping to ship those materials to Kenya is extremely expensive. So they don't necessarily use the funding for their plane tickets or anything like that. It's to get the physical materials that are going to stay in Kenya over to Kenya from the United States. So that's really cool that's going on with our engineering program. Something a little bit more small scale is that Mr. Cousins and Ms. Coyne Logan just started their subscription to a educational learning program / website, which is called EMC Squared. It engages students using student-centered learning, and it implements educational things into things like Netflix shows or adding curriculum into things that students are engaged in outside of school. So yeah, that's it.
Hi. Another thing at West is one of our seniors, Zara Fellman, recently had one of her poems published in a book, and her poem was called Endless Winters, so we're hoping to hear more about that. We also had our first set of auditions tonight for our spring musical, which will be The Lion King. So we have a lot of students participating in that. And then this Saturday, the dance team is hosting a kids clinic, and it's Teen Beach movie themed, so it's a really great opportunity for kids ages 4 to 12 to be able to dance with our team, and they're actually going to be performing with us next Friday at the basketball game.
Hi, I'm Adriana from Central. So our first piece of news would be our girls basketball team. We are now 8-4. We are 6 games away from making record history, actually. This will be, I think the last time that they won 13 games would have been in 1990. So we're 6 games away from that.
So another piece of news is that Adriana Mayfield, right here today, she was honored as Player of the Week, KWQC, and she also won the IH Mississippi Valley Shootout. So we're very proud of her. On the music side of things, 8 individuals were selected for the Southeast Iowa Band Association Honor Band, which they will be playing at shortly here too.
Over the past weekend, our varsity robotics team also won at Nevada High School this past weekend. Also this past weekend, we had Ketchup Academy, where we had 50 plus students that were in attendance that came.
Also, our tag program is currently hosting the TEDx Youth event, which we are currently in the planning of. That event will happen in April, and right now, this week, we are focused on getting the website out and the social media so that people can actually apply and audition to be a part of our event. So we're really excited to get that actually started this week.
And then our last piece of news would be me and Matre were able last Thursday to sit in on a meeting with the State Board of Education. They came to Central and one of our elementaries, I'm not sure which one, and pretty much just asked us about things that are going on, not only within Central, just within our district, and what we see as students and how they can help us and what they can do better for us as students. That's it.
And if I may add, one of the proudest moments as an educator that I have, I tucked it away, and my little proud educator moments was standing in the back of the room and watching our students knock it out of the park. And it was your meeting. You guys owned it. It was fantastic. And I couldn't be more proud of the leadership that was in that room, and you two definitely represent the leaders in that room. So proud of you guys for that. So thank you for that.
Miss Mayfield, make sure you give yourself a plug for people to go vote for you.
If you guys would like to go vote for me, you can go vote for me on Twitter at KWQC, the highlight zone for Player of the Week. And also, what's the other one? The MTI Score of the Week. I believe that's on WQID.
Thank you, student board members. Board reports. Are there any board reports? Director Hayes.
Just to follow up on the meeting last week, we had the elementary school that we went to was Buchanan. I'll let President Gosta talk more of that. And I went to the Central Leadership meeting, and I couldn't agree with Superintendent Sneckloff more that these ladies were awesome. I mean, they are born leaders. They kind of, the facilitator, someone actually said they really didn't need her because they took care of all of their business. They spoke right up, had great ideas, and a few of the state representatives, the Director of Education, and 4 of the school board members basically talked about what an outstanding job these ladies did. So kudos to you for all your work, and you really made us proud there just interacting with the group. And on a more somber note, I'd like to express the condolence from the board to the Gibbs family. Patty Gibbs, one of the counselors at North, lost her grandmother, Miss Christina Gibbs, and the board would like to express our sincere condolence on that.
Are there any other board reports? We got the state board coming in. No one has nothing. All right.
Well, most of us were able to attend the meeting with the State Board of Education members on what day? Thursday, thank you. And we were able to hear their feedback about their visit to Buchanan and to Central, and what it was like to be in our schools, and they had nothing but positive things to say, which was welcome. And we had an opportunity to ask some questions and share our concerns and feedback. And so several of us were able to sort of express how we felt about still being under state oversight, even when they had just now finally visited the district after several years. A couple of people expressed the feeling of sort of moving goalposts, and so I think it was a productive meeting because we were able to speak frankly and openly and out in the public and express our concerns and comments directly to the State Board of Education. So that's it.
Director Poston.
Last Tuesday and Wednesday, the legislative committee met with some of our legislators and visited with them about what our board priorities are for this coming legislative session.
Thank you. Any other board reports? The only thing I got, well, we had the legislative advocacy meeting, and then we also met, or I was on the tour at Buchanan with the state board members, and then I had to peel away, so I wasn't able to go to the central meeting. But the Buchanan staff did an amazing job. Every staff member, not just the teachers that were in that room teaching. I think we went to a kindergarten room, second grade room, and a third grade room. But they all did an outstanding job, and all the kiddos surprisingly did a great job as well. Normally you'll have a few every now and again, but it was great to see all the progress that's being made and everything like that. Director Beck, did you have something else you wanted to add?
Yes, the chair of the State Board of Education actually said that she hopes that her son's school is using the same reading program to the same extent when he starts school next year. So high praise for the work we've been doing with early literacy.
Any other board reports? Oh, yeah. The superintendent and I met with the mayor and city administrator. We have a monthly standing meeting with them. We are looking at setting up something with the smaller towns as well. That went pretty good. We just kind of go over some different issues that we're both facing on how we can work together and be advocates for each other. And along those notes, if you could, please shovel the sidewalks in front of your houses, because we do have kids that walk to school, and nothing is worse. I take my daughter to Fillmore, and seeing the kids walk down Ridge Drive there, and they're out in the street. I mean, that's a city issue, and the city is working on that, and again, make sure you slow down in speed zone. It is, in school speed zones, it is 25 miles an hour. We don't need any more kids getting hit or anything like that. With that being said, any other board reports? Seeing none, we will move on to communications and open forum. Open forum is a time for members of the community to give input at a board meeting regarding school district issues or concerns. Individuals who want to speak, please fill out an open forum request and give it to the board secretary prior to open forum. The form is available in hard copy or in person attendees or on the school board page of the district website for those who want to participate virtually. Virtual participants must email their request to Brenda T. at tbrin@davenportschools.org by 3 p.m. on the day of the board meeting. The board will not act on any issue presented during open forum if it was not published as an agenda item. Iowa Open Meetings Laws prohibits action on any issue that is not on the agenda. The president may set the amount of time allowed for individuals to speak. The board asks that no charges or complaints be made against individual employees of the district or community. Remarks that reflect negatively on the character or motives of any person will be called out of order. Tonight we have, I think I counted 10 open forum requests. When I call your name, come up to the mic, make sure you push the button and the green light is on. State your name and address for the record in 2 minutes. Who's my timekeeper tonight? Director Potts, you want to keep time?
I can do it now.
All right. You got it? Okay. All right. First up is an online one, but I believe you're here in person. Jackson Belvier. Did I say it right? Belvel. All right, thank you.
Guess someone activated it. Good evening, Jackson Bellevue, 2902 West 71st Street, Davenport. I just wanted to sort of follow up on something I brought up to the board last meeting back in December. First off, I just want to thank, I think it was Miss Beck and Miss Hayes. You two had said some very kind words about me after I had left. I know I'd left pretty hastily. Had my girlfriend waiting out there for like 3 hours, so I was kind of starting to feel pretty bad. But I really did want to thank you guys. Those are some very kind words, and I really was not expecting that. And to Mr. Potts and Miss Klein Jerome, I don't remember who exactly, for issuing those agenda items or whatever you had issued based on it. I honestly was not expecting any action to be taken against it, and the fact that two of you had wrote the exact, essentially the exact, you're good? Had wrote the exact, essentially the exact same thing. That was really heartwarming to know that you guys had shown some sort of care for what I had to talk about. And also, I know obviously with the OSHA mandate and everything, you guys had more important things to worry about. I looked at the agenda and unfortunately didn't see it on there, but I know that you said, I think that you said that you can't act on if it's not an agenda item. I guess it is. I don't know if this can change anything for this one, but I really would love it if next board meeting, whatever the nearest board meeting is before the end of this year, you guys could do something about this. We're still, a lot of my fellow peers, a lot of teachers I've talked with, we're still worried about this. We really would appreciate if you guys could find some way, let us keep the time for these classes. It's critical time, critical for planning, critical for just getting all the information down, not getting it in too quickly so that we're feeling overwhelmed, rushed, and yeah, just as soon as possible would be the best. A little later than as soon as possible would be all right, but you know, if just, I still thank you guys. Thank you guys for at least showing some sort of interest in it. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackson. Next up, we have Becky Fisher.
I'm Becky Fisher. My address is 312 West Durant Street, Walcott, Iowa.
Make sure you push the button, please.
I turned it off?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do you want me to say that over?
Yeah, go ahead.
Becky Fisher, 312 West Durant Street, Walcott, Iowa. I'm here tonight. I've been watching these school board meetings online for the past few months. I'm watching parents and children pleading and arguing about their children wearing masks in the school. For the life of me, I can't understand why the school district is still enforcing it. I'm sure you know by now that these masks do not stop the transmission of COVID or any other viruses. For that matter, however, these masks do cause learning difficulties and real-world physical and psychological harm. I'm not against science. I do trust science. But coercion is not science. Withholding data is not science. Manipulating data is not science. Cherry-picking studies is not science. And fear-mongering is not science. I ask myself, why then? Is it about the money? Is this why you're masking up our children? Are you in possession of or slated to receive any state, federal, private funding and or grants from any entity on the condition of universal masking, vaccine, or any other protocol for staff or students in the entire Davenport school system? It's a yes or no question. If you have, I would suggest you give it back. I mean, may I remind you, you are public servants here. We the people, we have the say-so here. Parents know what's best for their children, not a school board. That's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. Up next, we have Michael Ross.
Michael Ross, 3938 Clark, Davenport, Iowa. I'm here to speak on behalf of the VAX mandate that you guys are wanting to implement. I would ask you guys have compassion with the inflation. A lot of these teachers that you guys are gonna want to force them to pay for the COVID tests. I don't think that's right. If you're gonna mandate it, give them some incentive maybe. I know how I feel on it, that if you guys want to mandate it, you guys are gonna lose a lot of good employees. Don't force these employees to choose between right and wrong. We've been going through it for 2 years. I've walked alongside nurses that have walked out. Don't force your workforce to actually make a choice between being employed through your school district or not. Back in the 1990s, Davenport School District was one of the best school districts in the state of Iowa. Let's get back to it. Let's stop the mandates. I understand there's political stuff. Put it aside. Let's all be adults. Let's talk through things. I'm willing to meet with all you guys on the board, personally. Just do not force mandates on your employees. They will walk. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ross. Up next, we have Diane Sam. I don't want to say that wrong.
Salmon like the fish.
Sam, thank you.
Hello, my name's Diane Salmon. I'm not a public speaker, but I am a parent and a grandparent. And I am very concerned about the so-called vax mandates. It's not a vaccine, it's a shot. This is my mom, Peggy Snow, who did everything she was told to do by Fauci, our government, you name it. She wore her mask, she social distanced, she stayed alone in her apartment. We did Christmas in shifts, and it was not enough. This is what I have left of my mom. I've got this, and I've got this. Because she did everything she was supposed to do, and a freaking mask did no good. It did not save her life like they claim. And if you guys push the mandates for kids, you're gonna lose more kids in the schools. You're gonna lose more of the good teachers out there. Many of these teachers chose these professions because they love the children. They want to be there for them. They want to be the ones to encourage them and see them into the future. And they're being held back because of a piece of garbage. By the way, my mom has left behind 4 kids and their spouses, 14 grandkids, 17 grandkids, one of which she never got to meet because my parents' anniversary is January 16th. She went in the hospital on the 15th. They sent her home. She came back on the 16th. She was septic. She had sepsis throughout her system. She was in a hospital alone. We could not go be with her. We could call the nurse's station, give a code. They would put the phone by her ear so we could speak to her. So I read her the Lord's Prayer over the phone because I could do nothing else. When they knew she was not going to make it, and we were down to just a couple hours, they let my siblings and I go in there, and I held my mom's hand. I assured her she was a good mom, she was a good grandma, she was a good wife. I told her what a great job she did. I read her the 23rd Psalm, And I held her hand and told her it was okay to rest and to go be with Jesus. And I was with her when she stepped from this world into eternity. We're coming up on the 1-year anniversary, and we're no further from this than what we were. But our kids are suffering. My kids and my grandkids cry when they have to go to school, and they can't be with their friends, they can't see their faces, and they can't understand what they're being taught. So please rethink this. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Salmon, and sorry for your loss. Up next, we have Kathy Bartleson.
Hello, Kathy Bartleson, 323 Oak Street, Buffalo, Iowa. First, I'd like to say I'm proud to be a 20-year Davenport Community School District paraeducator employee. 17 years I've been in preschool and special ed. I'm dedicated to helping my students communicate it and reach their goals. I'm 58 years old and my yearly income is $22,000 and change. I'm not in my job to get rich. I love it. Several years ago, Davenport Community School District required preschool employees to obtain a CDA, which is required to be renewed every 3 years. This is a condition of my employment, and I respect that. Currently, a mask mandate and proposed COVID vaccine are on the table. I firmly believe my employer has no right to medical information and to require a shot or weekly testing of unvaccinated employees. The weekly testing would be at my expense and at a location to be determined. I'm expected to go on my own time without pay to get tested. I'm positive my job performance has zero to do with my vaccination status. My teacher and myself tested positive a day apart. She is vaxxed and I am not. The reality is we are all at risk of contracting and spreading COVID. Only unvaccinated employees would be required to wear a mask during work hours and in vehicles. Make this make sense to me. Will the number of employees who resign be significant if the board continues with this agenda? Are the qualified sub-paras ready to work while the district tries to hire staff who have the required CDA to work in title buildings? The district might be settling for a warm body to fill a position versus a dedicated 20-year employee who has decided the line drawn in the sand stands. Respectfully, Kathy Bartleson.
Thank you, Ms. Bartleson. Up next, we have Amanda Reinhardt.
Amanda Reinhardt, 320 Valley Ridge Road, Bluegrass, Iowa. I'm going to do something a little bit out of character and thank you guys for taking that item off the agenda because it was the right decision and it hopefully will stay that way. So that cuts out a little bit of my deal here, but I'm going to focus on some numbers tonight because despite being a Davenport alum, I am fairly good at math. On September 27, 2021, the first time I spoke to this board, the rate of students and staff who tested positive since the beginning of the school year was 1.83%. At the time I stated in my opinion, those numbers did not correlate to the need for a mask mandate. But I will remind you, by this district's own admission, this mandate was not put into place solely based on safety, but was done out of fear of litigation. Speaking of litigation, there's something that just does not make a bit of sense to me. It has been stated that this district's deductible for any litigation is $25,000. I know from attending these meetings, and it was stated sometime a while before winter break, that this district had spent at least $30,000 on masks. That makes a ton of sense, doesn't it? The district has now spent more money forcing masks on our kids than it would have if they had just taken the chance with the courts. Now let's pretend that this mandate was put in place as a means of safety and keeping the transmission rates low. As I have stated, on September 27th, the percentage was 1.83%. That's including the 14,000 students and 3,000 staff members. As of today, it is 5.4% who have tested positive since the beginning of the school year. Positivity rate has continued to climb despite this mask mandate. And another number I found interesting was the positive cases for last week, which was 240. Now, the total number since the start of school is 923, meaning that 26% of our district's total cases was just in the last week with a mask mandate. Last week's positivity rate was 1.4% of the district. If these numbers show us anything, it is that this mask mandate has not had the desired effect, but what it has done is to further drive a wedge between the families of this district and the district itself. One last thing I'd like to say is we did not move our children to another district when this mess started because our kids love their school, as do I. But I am just about done hoping this board will start making decisions based on common sense. The deadline for open enrollment for next school year is March 1st, and if this board doesn't end this mask mandate, my 4 children will be proud students of the Durant School District next year. Got until February 27th to end this, because if you don't, I'll be turning our open enrollment paperwork on February 28th.
Thank you, Ms. Reinhardt. Next, we have Dennis Pulse.
How you guys doing? Dennis Pulse, 502 West 16th Street, Davenport, Iowa. You guys recognize me, I'm sure. I've been almost every meeting here for a long time. Like Amanda said, I'm going to go a little out of character and thank you guys for dropping the vaccine mandate. Really appreciate that. However, this needs to go next. This doesn't do anything. It's already been proven that the virus has gone airborne. This prevents droplets, not airborne. This is only good for surgical because when they have their head tilted down, it stops their saliva from falling into your open wound. Does not stop them from contracting the virus. Now, as far as the vaccination goes as well, I'll give you a couple examples. Whoopi Goldberg just this week, triple vax, did everything she was supposed to do, contacted COVID-19. We had a whole ship of Navy sailors just 2 weeks ago with the exact same problem, all vaccinated. It doesn't stop the transmission. Please stop the mandates. My children are tired of going to school with the mask. My son's tired of being in an online class. He wants to go see his friends again. Please stop the mandates. Otherwise, like Amanda said, open enrollment's coming around and my kids will be removed from this district. You guys have a good night.
Thank you, Mr. Pulse. Up next, we have Jacqueline Cook.
You want to go first? Okay. Well, I'm Jacqueline Cook, 11624 110th Avenue, Davenport. And this is my son, Asher. You can go ahead and tell him what you want.
If you can hold the microphone down if you don't want to hold him the whole
Oh, that's all right. I'll hold him so he can see everyone too. It's good training.
I cannot breathe even when I have a mask.
Anything else? No? Okay. He's been wanting to say that to you guys for a few weeks now, actually a few months, but here we are. You can go sit down with Daddy if you want. All right, so with you guys removing policy 403.07 from the agenda today, that kind of took care of a lot of this. So I guess the only thing that I have to ask of you guys is to reach out to the labor commissioner, whatever they are, I'm sorry, and find out if there's any way that school districts can be removed from the OSHA standard. There are several other states that do not fall under that. Their public sectors do not fall under that. I would like to see Iowa the same, especially with our employment, issues right now. We're short 27 teachers. We can't afford to lose anymore. There is a very large number of teachers and employees that value their medical privacy. And because this has been so politicized, they do not feel comfortable disclosing their status, be it vaccinated or unvaccinated. I've talked to both. I would really like to see that happen. That's a big deal. Protect our teachers, protect our kids.
Thank you, Ms. Cook, and your son as well. Up next, we have Jamie Cook.
Jamie Cook, 11624 110th Avenue. Again, thank you for taking this off of the agenda right now. However, we're going to touch on it. I hope that your minds were changed because it's the right thing to do. We're not going to believe in these lies forever. We do know right now that vaccinated or not, you can catch and transmit COVID-19. Therefore, the temporary emergency standard is nothing more than a discriminatory, tyrannical lie, fostering division, hostile work environments, and a loss of staff. Courage is not being unafraid, is doing what's right despite of that fear. This is something to remember too.
Founding fathers here in this country brought about the only true revolution that has ever taken place in man's history. Every other revolution simply exchanged one set of rulers for another set of rulers. But only here did that little band of men so advance beyond their time that the world has never seen their like since, evolve the idea that you and I have within ourselves the God-given right and the ability to determine our own destiny. But freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same. And if you and I don't do this, then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free.
To those who are afraid to stand up, your freedom is paid for. You don't ask for it, you demand it. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Cook. Up last, I am not going to butcher this last name, but Patricia.
Hi, Patricia Dwight, 2651 West 34th Street, Davenport, Iowa. I've been here quite a few times now. Welcome, Karen Gordon, to the board. I haven't seen you yet. I really hope you bring real diverse communications and change, because we really need it. I wanted to also address you guys about the vaccine mandate, but thank you for removing it and following what should happen. We should not be forcing our staff or anyone to take a vaccine. It should be your personal choice, like it is to go get your hair done or not, your nails or not. Your medical decisions are your medical decisions. I don't need to know if you got vaccinated. You don't need to know if they did. It's not changing anything. People are still dying. Just this past week, my own friend lost 3 family members that are triple vaxxed. They all died from COVID and complications of COVID. It's not going to change anything. If you get COVID, you survive. If you don't, that's what God had planned for you. It's not changing it. And if you want to push it, under civil violation, coercion is a felony. Under Section 18 U.S. Code, Section 231 and Section 80.2 incited it's domestic terrorism. It is terroristic to make someone take something that's an experimental drug. And guess what? It holds a term of 99 years in federal prison. Also, a fine up to $109 million per offense that you coerce and cause someone to forcefully do something that's not of their will. So I don't know how many of you want to share your life in jail. Probably none of you. And I would definitely look into that when you're going to continue to go on this banter of vaccinating, forced vaccinating, because I'm sure some of you are driven for it, even if OSHA is saying no right now. I appreciate the time, and please unmask our children, because if you don't soon, my 5 kids are gone as well. And you're just going to keep having them drop like flies. So your numbers are all already suffering. We don't want to see that for the district.
Your time is up.
And we want to move on. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. White. All right. We will move on to consent agenda. May I have a motion on the consent agenda?
Mr. President,
Director Hayes.
I move the board accept the consent agenda as written.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Director Beck. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. Director Hayes?
Yes.
Director Beck?
Yes.
Director Potts?
Yes.
Director Klein Jerome?
Yes.
Director Poston?
Yes.
Director Gordon?
Yes.
My vote is yes. Motion carries. May I have a motion on approval of bills?
Mr. President,
Director Beck.
I move the board approve the following resolution. Resolved, all claims presented to the board having been duly certified as correct by the treasurer, reviewed by the administration and board members, and they are hereby audited and allowed as just claims and warrants drawn on the treasury for the several amounts. Further resolved, the payment of claims and salaries be approved as presented for the periods of December 8th, 2021 to January 4th, 2022, noting the following voided checks. Check 376542 for $60, Social Studies School Service, wrong vendor, and check 376580 for $150, Wilton Community School District, wrong amount.
Motion been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Director Hayes. She beat you out of the gun.
I didn't hear.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. Director Beck?
Yes.
Director Hayes?
Yes.
Director Klein Jerome?
Yes.
Director Poston?
Yes.
Director Gordon?
Yes.
Director Potts?
Yes.
My vote is yes. Motion carries. Superintendent report.
And none at this time.
Committee reports. You guys just had an LZAC committee meeting, right? You got an LZAC report?
Yeah, I'm going to let Karen, Director Gordon, handle that one. I completely forgot.
So Dr. Beck and I went to the LCAC committee meeting last month, and neither one of us remembered to take notes because we were so riveted by the discussion and the presentation by Dr. Stevenson, who gave us lots of good information about diversity among classes at the high school levels, both for race and gender. There was a lot of it, and it was a lot to come through, but it was very interesting, and we both, and everyone there kind of came out of it saying, I would love a lot more time to look over all of this, and we all had some questions about certain aspects of it, but it was fascinating and a very well-done presentation, so thank you, Dr. Stevenson.
Any other committee reports? Director Beck?
I was just going to say that the LCAC meeting for tomorrow has been canceled, and the next meeting will be in February.
You got any policy committee notes?
No updates on policy at this time. We're still continuing to move along.
Finance committee, do you all have any updates? Nothing?
No, well, there's some material will be presented later here. in the
Okay.
meeting.
Director Hayes?
For the ad hoc committee to get the numbers on the board, I would actually like to schedule a meeting with the holidays behind us, that anyone interested in ideas on how to get that set up, that we get a meeting planned so we can start discussing it.
The only other committee report I have, legislative advocacy, obviously Director Poston talked about that. We met with legislators Tuesday and Wednesday last week. TJ, or the superintendent, put together a nice presentation for him, as well as a fact sheet on some of the things we got going on and some nice handouts and stuff. So That way they'll be educated going up to the Capitol, and if they had any questions, he said he would get them answered for them right away. Pretty good turnout from the legislators. They were glad to hear our updates on things and wanted to know how they could help. So, seeing no other committee reports, I'll make a recommendation. Whenever you have committee meetings, make sure you appoint someone to be your note taker. So that way you have someone that does that. I think every other committee is kind of set up that way. So that way we have something going on there.
On their behalf, I was supposed to get the meeting notes to both of them for that. So that's my responsibility that I didn't get that to them. That's why they didn't have them tonight. So I apologize. I will take care of that in the future, LCA members.
Thank you.
So thank you.
I didn't want to throw anybody
It's
under the
okay.
bus.
It's all right.
I would have tossed him right out there. All right. Let's see. Items requiring action. May I have a motion on item 10.01?
Mr. President,
Director Beck.
I move that the board approve the SBRC document for our non-categorical balances as presented.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, by Director Potts. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Director Beck?
Can I just ask Superintendent Schneckloff to give a real quick brief summary for people who might be watching who might not remember that we discussed this the other day?
Absolutely, as discussed in the committee of the whole, we are being asked to come before the SBRC along with, I believe it's 4 other districts, to describe how we are going to spend down our non-categorical balances, and balance those out. And so we shared that at the committee of the whole, our next steps and how we're going to move forward, and had some great discussions about that, why we are where we are and where we are going. And so the discussion was rich, and that's why it's here before us today. Though these minutes need to be turned into the SBRC as we report to the SBRC. I think it's the 25th. Thank you, Kevin. And with our plan for moving forward.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. Director Beck?
Yes.
Director Potts?
Yes.
Director Gordon?
Yes.
Director Poston?
Yes.
Director Klein Jerome?
Yes.
Director Hayes?
Yes.
My vote is yes, motion carries. May I have a motion on subject 10.02?
Mr. President,
Director Hayes.
I move that the board approve our negotiation teams and also provide the names of those members on those teams.
All right, thank you. Motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Director Beck. Is there any discussion?
Like
Director Potts?
Yeah, Mr. President, I don't see any teams.
the names of the team members, not there.
There's nothing to vote on.
I was going to ask for that too.
If you look at the top of the agenda item, it looks like it's for the exempt session.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, there's no teams. We can't vote. There's nothing to vote on.
I'll list them out now.
Is she gonna put something up? We can table this and go on, then come back if she can put something together.
Oh, the only other thing we got is.
Well, we got this, then we got discussion. You can always go back, I suppose, I would think.
I would entertain a motion to table so Jamie can get something put together and we can move on to discussion items and then come back.
Mr. President,
Director Potts.
I move that we table this item for 60 minutes. No more than 60 minutes.
Okay, the motion's been made to table for no more
Second.
than. Seconded by Director Passion. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I will call for the vote on tabling for no more than 60 minutes. Director Potts,
Yes.
I got to write this down. It's not printed up for me. Director Passion,
Yes.
Director Klein Jerome,
Yes.
Director Beck,
Yes.
Director Gordon,
Yes.
Director Hayes.
Yes.
My vote is yes. Motion carries. We'll table this and move on to discussion items. First discussion item is math online resource. I'll turn it over to Superintendent.
Thank you. One of the vital resources that we use in our K-5 program is our online resources in our Envision program. We are in a spot where we need to re-up that. So I'll turn that over to Lisa to give us an introduction. And we also have with us our math specialist extraordinaire to help answer any questions. So Lisa, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight you have an information item in front of you, and we'll bring this back to you in 2 weeks for action, a vote. This is due to the size of the request. The purchase is around $106,000, $102,600. And that will allow us to extend the K-5 math online access for our students to our Envision software that they've been using for over 6 years. As you may or may not remember, when we did our math data review, we were in the process of purchasing new math curriculum, and then COVID came upon us as the pilot was getting ready to launch. And so all of that's been put in neutral for math adoption. So while we do have workbooks to get us to keep this math program we have going until we pilot and purchase something new, we did not, our digital subscription had run out. So basically, we're asking you to continue, give us the go-ahead to extend this contract so that our students can, our teachers, our student teachers, our online students, and our in-person students can still have access to the digital content that goes along with the print math content. We do plan to use this in our after-school tutoring for those students who've had learning loss in the area of math, and we'll use this for summer school for students who are qualifying for summer school in the area of math for K-5. Are there any questions that you have that either I or Mike could answer related to this purchase?
I'm going to go with Director Klein Jerome first.
Well, I don't disagree with extending it. What I have a problem with is that it expired in December. We are just seeing this in January and not going to vote on it till the end of January. As a board, we have started making a calendar of when things are due. I would suggest not just you, but all curriculum areas do the same thing. I spent my first 8 months on this board fighting this exact issue, coming to us after the fact. As a finance person on the finance, no, it can't come after the fact. It needs to come prior to anything expiring. So that's my only problem with this. Continuing it, I don't have a problem with it.
Superintendent Schneckloff.
Yes, and I would like to apologize for bringing this forward in that fashion. As we continue to look at onboarding our new staff, looking at our plan, looking at where are we going, this is one of those items that, yes, is out of order. And we know that our teachers need this. We know that we can utilize different funds to pay for it. And I would have to thank our learning and results team, because they went to the company. They struck a really excellent deal for us to continue these resources while we had a discussion and voted on it. So I would say, yes, you're 100% right. This is not our normal mode of operation. We're trying not to operate in this fashion. And I do apologize that we're bringing this to you in this way. We evaluated this resource quite heavily, but our teachers really need it right now, and they can't take one more change coming at them. And so it's something they're used to. And I do apologize for bringing this to you in this fashion. So it is not our goal to operate this way. It's a resource that our teachers need to get in their hands right away. So I do apologize for bringing this to you in this fashion.
Director Beck.
Just for my own curiosity, is this software, this is sort of what goes along with whatever they're doing in the classroom? Does this include things like ST Math?
No, it's a different product.
No, it does not. No, it does not.
Okay,
This is the component to our core curriculum that would enhance as well with extracurricular things such as assessments, online tutoring, collaboration with Google Classroom for teachers to provide parents and families information outside of the classroom as well. But it's the component to our core curriculum.
Okay, thank you.
Director Hayes.
With the numbers that we use or the data that we received on the math results, and we've had this 6 years, is this something that we really want to continue, or do we need to look at something different?
That's a great question. I appreciate that. This is the program that we're currently using and that we're going to continue to use for the next year and a half with this contract, so that we can use an adoption process with collaboration with our local AEA to find our next purchase through collaboration and a lot of good digging for resources.
Okay, thank you.
Director Poston.
In here, it talks about the extension will allow to pilot new materials for the 2022-2023 school year. So explain what are you talking about here as far as new materials?
I'll take this one, Mike. So if you might remember, in December, we came and brought you the math data at the COW and shared that with you and you have a policy up tonight about curriculum resources and adoption. So a healthy system makes sure that the resources that we put in front of teachers and kids are updated and meet the needs of all of our students. In some places, that's a 10-year cycle, and others it's 7, et cetera. And so the math adoption is what's next for Davenport, so to speak, in terms of elementary math. Those are the materials that are coming up for purchase next. But before we buy something of that magnitude, which will be many millions of dollars for us to buy, we pilot first. It's part of a healthy curriculum process to make sure we have different products up for purchase, so to speak, and we try them out at different schools and see which ones best meet our local needs. And that's what drives the purchase. So we could end up using Envision, a newer version of Envision in the future, or we could end up with something completely different.
So the new materials are included in this extension?
The print materials, you mean, that would go along with it next year, that go along with Envision?
Whatever you're going to use as far as new materials for a pilot. Is that?
We don't know yet. That curriculum adoption committee is just getting started here in February, reconvening, studying our data that we shared with you in December, and narrowing down which pilot materials we'll be using at the elementaries for pilot next year.
If I may, this is just to keep our online subscription that's part of our core continuing. Many times when we work with our piloting companies, they provide us a certain amount of resources for free when we start piloting. This is not part of that pilot process. The process for this is to allow us to do a pilot with our local AEA using our current resource.
So if there are any pilot materials, that'll be at an additional cost then?
We will
No.
work with the companies to make sure that we get the materials that we need to pilot without an additional cost.
And this Envision contract was a 6-year agreement that the former board members signed and purchased and paid for all at one time. I guess with the vision that a new product would be in its place in year 7. And we just aren't there, as I said, because of COVID and other reasons. So that's the reason for the extension.
Any other questions on this item?
See, there's nothing there. Approved negotiation. Okay, wait, it's a subject. Approved.
Thank you guys for sharing that information. We'll bring that forth on the 24th. Thank you very much. I think the next one's a policy. Look at you multitasking. We are up on 11.02, President Gozo.
All right, I will turn it over to the Policy Committee Chair, Director Beck.
So this is policy 605.01, which is on instructional materials selection. This is our second discussion for this policy. And this is a mandatory policy that we edit to fit our practices. As part of our policy review, we want to make sure that we are up to date and that we are actually adhering to the policies as written. And so this specifically gives a timeline for when new textbooks or new curriculum materials should be reviewed. It's every 10 years. And also who should be involved in that decision making, that it should be people who are the district experts on those materials. So if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Otherwise, we will see this for a vote at our next regular meeting. Oh. Sorry, Director Gordon.
Forgive me if this has already been discussed and I've forgotten about it. I know that we have a curriculum team, curriculum director. Are they the sole people who make the decisions on curriculum? Are teachers part of that decision too? Okay. At each grade level? Okay.
Yeah, and actually, if you'll notice the cross-references for this, one of the cross-references is ad hoc committees, because typically a committee is put together of multiple stakeholders to make these types of decisions. And as we just heard about, different products may be piloted to see which one best fits our needs.
It's actually a quite rigorous process. Lisa, would you like to add anything to that? Thank you.
That was the second discussion, right? So it'll be on the agenda next
Monday, next regular meeting.
next regular meeting to vote on. All right, now we will move on to item 11.03, the monthly fiscal reports.
This is a little bit out of our cadence, but we wanted to bring forth a second round of our financial reports as we were sharing old data before. So we wanted to upload them and get them in the hands of the school board just as soon as possible. So Kevin, if you would mind walking us through our financial reports. And also, I know our finance committee members are deep into these discussions. So Kent or Karen, before Kevin goes, is there anything that you would like to add or state from our finance committee before Kevin shares our November report? Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Kevin.
Okay, we have two reports here. I'm going to start with the first item, the November monthly fund reporting. When we reviewed this with the Finance Committee, We had October data, but we did not have November data. We have November data for this meeting. We'll have December data in 2 weeks from today. So you're going to get a double dose of fund reports. On this first one, on the revenue, the top third of that page, you'll see that for FY22, our local revenues are outpacing FY21 and FY20. You have to remember FY21 is a bit of an anomaly. There's a lot of variances that affect those numbers, but generally local revenue is our property tax. The state revenue is down a little bit, but there's some, with our declining enrollment, there's less state aid, but it's still running at 30%, so it's right where it belongs. The third item is the federal revenue. That one is lagging behind, and I wanted to point that out specifically. There's a lot of conversations about when Title I and ESSER funds are being paid this year as compared to past years. They are slow at getting those payments to us for federal funds that flow through the state. The state is at a little bit of disadvantage on some of the ESSER funds because there's some additional requirements being handed down from the federal government. So they're struggling a little bit, and understandably why. But we're still running at a 34% clip for 5 months into the year, and that is right where we belong. Flipping over to the expenditure side, one thing I want to draw to your attention to is our salaries. Our salaries are sitting at $40.9 million, which is high in comparison to FY21, but there's some anomalies in there. We're going to take a deeper dive into this in our finance committee in a couple weeks. But when you roll back to FY19 and FY20, we are lower. So there's some variances in there for that. For example, in FY21, we had fewer subs because we were shut down at that time. A whole lot of different things that did not happen in the first 5 months of that fiscal year. Also, the other thing that might drive up the costs of salaries for this year is we have some ESSER funds that we're putting staff into, and we'll be having the opposite effect in a couple of years when we start backing that down. So that is kind of a variance that's going to happen that you're going to see. In the other categories, you're going to see that those are either lower or right at prior years. But sitting at $66 million, and we're within $100,000 of FY21 in total. So that is healthy. You'll see that $66 million in the next report. But the other thing that's good for us, we're sitting at just over $1 million of revenue less over expenditures. That is with the lag of having ESSER funds and title funds being paid to us that we typically have. So that would still be a couple $1 million more if they had been paid at the same time that they were the prior year. Any questions on that section?
Seeing no questions.
Okay. That said, I'm going to flip to the other report of our key measures. This is the one that I'm more excited about because it tells you a little better of a story. When you look at our FY22 unspent budget for the year, we were budgeted for $197 million. We were running at a clip of about $192.7 million estimate, which that $5 million difference is wonderful news to us. And you'll see that our acceptable level for our UAB ratio is sitting at an estimate of 9% when we should be between 5 and 15%. I keep repeating that 5 to 15% so you have a point of reference. And then also our solvency ratio, which if you remember when we were talking about a 5-year projection, one of the things that we're concerned about is our solvency ratio in the next several years. With that decline in those anticipated expenditures, our solvency ratio is going to be a little bit better than what we anticipate in the longer term because we're having less spending. And you'll see that it's projected to be 15% at the end of the year, which is at the top end of where we need to be. So that's healthy at this point in time. We'll still keep an eye on that going into future years. If you flip to page 2, and I'll repeat this again because we have to keep this in our minds. When we publish our budget, there's those 4 categories of expenditures. We have 2 lines that are negative, and we'll be coming for a budget amendment like we did for last year. The 2 reasons for those 2 that I have highlighted, one is ESSER funds that we didn't anticipate spending when we set our budget just over a year ago, about a year ago. And the other is our non-instructional, with our non-instructional mainly being our food and nutrition. That is varied quite a bit, and so we'll be adjusting for that as well.
Director Beck.
So, I'm sorry. What you're saying with those 2 is that, particularly with the ESSER funds, we have to spend them now and get reimbursed, and so that's why we go into the negative. Is that correct?
No, that is just a publication to inform the public that we anticipate spending an amount not to exceed. And so we need to amend it so that we can say, hey, we are going to spend more. We're not asking for more money. We're not raising taxes. It's just what we anticipated a year and a half ago is not going to be what's going to happen, and that we're going to overspend. So we have a vehicle to amend the budget to say, look, we are going to spend this much instead of what we anticipated.
Okay, so it's not, I guess using the term overspend, I think can be a little confusing. So it's money that we're allowed to spend and we have available.
That's
we just
correct.
didn't budget for it beforehand.
Yes.
And so it shows up this way, so that, because this is based on the budget that we proposed.
Correct.
Okay.
Director
Kevin,
Klein-Jerome.
this is November. When does December come in?
We'll be reviewing that at our next committee meeting before we have our next.
Oh, still in January.
We'll be getting December's done at the end of the week, first part of next week.
Okay, so we will still see that in January.
Yes.
Okay,
2
thank
weeks
you.
from today, we'll review January's.
Yeah,
Or
thanks.
December's, excuse me.
That concludes our report.
Seeing no questions, I'm sure that concludes your report.
Yep.
All right. All right, that's it for discussion items. Ms. Winsrow, would you please read for us the negotiating team members?
I would love.
Hold on one second. For clarity, we are going back to items requiring action, item 10.02. Take it away, Jamie.
All right. So for the AFSCME custodians, warehouse, and campus security, we have Aaron Hillegas with Allers and Cooney as needed. Board members Dan Gosa and Karen Klein-Jerome. Myself, Kevin Posicani, the CFO. Willie Barney, ILD. Josh Urmansky, Director of Operations. Lisa Cruz, Finance Specialist, and Nicole Stroop, HR Specialist. For food service, food and nutrition services, we have Aaron Hillegas with Allers and Cooney as needed. Board members Dan Gosa and Karen Klein-Jerome. Myself, Kevin Posicani, CFO. Josh Urmansky, Director of Operations. Lisa Cruz, Finance Specialist, and Nicole Stroop, HR Specialist. AFSCME paraeducators, Aaron Hillegas with Allers and Cooney as needed. Board members Dan Gosa and Karen Klein-Jerome. Myself, Jay Klipsch, ILD. Lisa Cruz, Nicole Stroop, and it should be Kevin Posicani. I missed you on that one. For AFSCME professional secretaries, we have Aaron Hillegas, Ehlers and Cooney as needed. Board members Dan Gosa and Karen Klein-Jerome. Myself, Kevin Posicani, CFO. Lisa Cruz, Finance Specialist. Nicole Stroop, HR Specialist. For the DEA teachers, Aaron Hillegas with Allers and Cooney as needed. Board members Dan Gosa and Karen Klein-Jerome. Myself, Kevin Posicani, CFO. Ben Driscoll, ILD. Lisa Cruz, Finance Specialist. Nicole Stroop, HR Specialist. Then for our maintenance group, we have Aaron Hillegas with Allers and Cooney as needed. Board members Dan Gosa and Karen Klein-Jerome, myself, Kevin Posacani, CFO, Josh Hermansky, Director of Operations, Lisa Cruz, Finance Specialist, and Nicole Stroop, HR Specialist.
Mr. President, I move the board approve the negotiations teams as presented.
There's been is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Director Hayes. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. Director Potts?
Yes.
Director Hayes?
Yes.
Director Beck?
Yes.
Director Poston?
Yes.
Director Gordon?
Yes.
Director Klein-Jerome?
Yes.
My vote is yes. Motion carries. We're on to administrative reports.
None at this time.
Are there any board requests? One board request, name of board member, Director Beck. Data request, January 10th, 2022. Item requested and agenda item. Description of request, discussion of proposed AP changes and reasoning for them. Why are you making this request? We've had a couple of questions and concerns about proposed changes, and I think the public could benefit from hearing about this. When would you like this? As feasibly possible, possibly the February meeting at the latest. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Director Potts. Are there any other board requests? Seeing none, we'll move on to Director Potts' favorite part, board reflections. We'll start with Director Klein-Jerome.
I appreciate the student board members because you take a lot of time to find out things going on and not just in general about teams. I mean, you have looked at what students are doing. I had heard of the water project, but it's nice to hear you also supporting them and giving them that hurrah that they need, and the activities and recognizing the individuals. I think that's important.
Thank you, Director Poston.
Well, I too appreciate the student board members and the time that you spend on this. I also appreciate having the cheer team here and the results that they got from attending the parade in Hawaii. Again, I just think we need to have students spending more and more time in extracurricular activities. I think a lot of times students are not taking advantage of those, and I think they'll reflect back on their school days and wish they had taken part in some of these activities. So I give these kids a lot of credit. It takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of effort, and but there will be dividends in the future.
Thank you, Director Beck.
As well, because we had our welcome reception tonight, I just wanted to express my appreciation to our student board members for sharing great information. You all are great cheerleaders for one another as well, and it's really good to see that. And also, I would like to reflect on the fact that we are voting on negotiations teams in January, which, if I remember correctly, is much earlier than we have done it in the past. And so I think that is something we should celebrate. Maybe still room for improvement, but we've made some positive changes.
Thank you, Director Potts.
You got me?
Yeah.
Well, I would say first that there doesn't always have to be an aha moment at every board meeting, because sometimes our board meetings, most of the business items in this board meeting were pretty. I mean, there was a time where we didn't ever have a meeting that was. So maybe that is an aha. We had a board meeting. I would suggest too the cheer team that went to. I mean, I bet there was no shortage of people volunteering to be a chaperone on that trip. And I would have loved to have been there to see their faces when they went to the Arizona Memorial. That would have been a very, I would think, moving thing, because I'm assuming that the cheer coaches did a little background work with the students, so they knew exactly the impact and what they were seeing.
Thank you, Director Potts. Director Gordon?
I have spent a lot of the meeting tonight reflecting on some of the things that were said at open forum. Just the guts that it takes to get up and talk in front of a group of people, and the importance of having differing views and the importance of reflecting on the differing views. I think that there were a lot of thoughtful things said tonight that challenged my thinking in some certain ways. So that's all I've got.
Thank you, Director Hayes.
I can agree with what everyone has said. I do appreciate the fact with Kevin, bringing the numbers to us on a regular basis and being on top of it. Looking forward to the outcome of the SBRC documents and the cheerleaders. I was excited with that, and even the one student that was interested because her father was in the Navy. I think that kind of put a more personal reflection on it for us. So I'm glad that they all had the opportunity to go and experience that as a school activity.
Student board members.
I have two things. I thought it was kind of nice to see one of my own classmates come up and speak for the open forum and talk about something that means so much to our whole district and school, especially with classes that students really care about. And I thought also the cheerleading was really cool, because that's something that the district is offering that kids may not be able to experience any other time if they weren't part of it. So
I may go to West, but I think that's pretty cool that the North cheerleaders were able to go and do that. I think it shows a lot about their determination to get there, and that obviously takes a lot of funding, and that trip obviously meant a lot to them. And I think that's awesome that they were able to come here and it was on the agenda for them to kind of just be shown that they did something amazing. So I think we should do that more often, and that was really cool that the North girls did that.
Thank you, student board members. We appreciate your participation. Superintendent Schneckloff.
For me, it's definitely the committee work that you see coming alive, and especially with our new committees. I think the LCAC committee, hearing the passion and information that came out of the presentations from there. I was personally at the legislative forums on Tuesday and Wednesday, and our board members spoke passionately about the district, and the process that you utilized to set your priorities really worked, and it allowed us to be clear and concise. And I think about the wonderful work that our policy committee is working, and we have a new member on there, and Karen's really adding some of her strengths to that committee and enhancing what we have going on already. And Dr. Beck's put in place some agendas and some pre-planning to really push that forward. And so I think inside of our district, wherever we have committee work, where our dedicated board members are on, it's always positive.
Thank you. I echo what everyone else said. Again, I do appreciate student board members' input at meetings. It's nice to have a voice from the classrooms here to talk to us and share your thoughts with us. We do appreciate that, as well as like the superintendent said, all the committee work and the extra effort that every board member goes to make sure that this district runs smooth. And obviously, it was nice having the state board here and kind of validate a lot of the things that we've been doing, but they just haven't actually came here in person doing that. So, again, I appreciate each and every one of you, and I'm glad to serve with all of you. With that being said, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.